of the WTO, and we are pleased that you chose to celebrate this anniversary in Africa and in Kenya. As we look forward to the next 20 years of our collective effort to build prosperity, we should get encouraged from the achievements of the WTO. Africa, and indeed the whole world, eagerly awaits the completion of a framework for a new order of sustainable development. That ambition, which once seemed distant, is now within reach given the singular achievements as a multilateral community that we have seen in this year. As has been stated already, in July of 2015, in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we had a successful third international conference for financing for development arising from the Monterrey Consensus. It was followed by the adoption of the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development Goals in September of this year in New York by world leaders, and subsequently crowned in the past week at the COP21 in Paris, France, where we reached a historic agreement to combat climate change. Indeed, this year, 2015, is a year in which we have displayed unparalleled cooperation in agreeing on a number of collective approaches to some of the most pressing problems facing humanity. The spirit that has followed us to come together and achieve measures that many thought impossible should also be present at this year's 10th WTO Ministerial Conference. The hope for millions of people in increasing prosperity on the basis of trade and exchange is in your hands. The outcome of this meeting can positively touch on many other pressing challenges, such as insecurity, instability, and inequality. It is therefore my earnest encouragement to all negotiating teams represented here today to seize this particular moment. Reach for mutually beneficial compromise and allow yourselves no result except success. Distinguished delegates, there is no doubt that the World Trade Organization has made major contributions to the growth as well as the stability of the global economy. It has helped boost international trade, resolve disputes among members, and supported developing countries, and in particular the least developed countries, to integrate into the multilateral trading system. The growing membership of the organization is a strong endorsement of its continuing relevance. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary, we need to reflect on and address the challenges encountered. This will be critical in ensuring that the WTO effectively plays its role of promoting global trade that is supportive of sustainable and shared development across the world by increasing the number of developing countries able to fully reach their potential. We must remember that globally, the consequences of lack of adequate economic opportunities are a leading driver of social as well as political instability, which also helps drive extremism and violence. The deliberations of this conference, therefore, are important in unlocking the economic potential of many countries with positive benefits for all of us. It will win millions of supporters for the global order at a time when it is under increased pressure than it has been for decades. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we note that this conference is taking place at a time when world trade has slowed and the world economy is experiencing weak growth. This context suggests that the World Trade Organization has an important role in contributing to the recovery of global economy by taking measures that promotes growth of trade. In this respect, the WTO should continue to assist countries in undertaking domestic structural reforms aimed at modernization, diversification of business environments. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, holding this ministerial conference in Africa is a good opportunity to highlight the growth potential of Africa and indeed of the least developed countries. As the continent with the lowest participation in global trade and the world's youngest and fastest growing populations, the world will change for the better from an Africa that trades more goods and services with more markets. Africans are showing that they are ready to be part of the global economic transformation. Africa is showing that it is ready for inclusion and sustainability. Today, Africa is one of the fastest growing regions, and in 2014, 6 of the world's fastest growing economies were African. Africa is now a rising and emerging continent with an abundance of opportunities, optimism and dynamism. In volume terms, Africa's exports of goods grew by 500% between 1995 and 2013, while inward foreign direct investment grew from $9 billion in 2000 to $57.2 billion in 2013, an increase of over 600%. In addition, which is encouraging, investments in Africa record higher rates of return than in any other region in the world. Yet the continent is still faced with serious challenges of poverty. African leaders are determined to tackle them, but for us to succeed, we need the goodwill and the support of the rest of the world. A global trade system that allows us to seize opportunities is a fundamental part of our drive to solve challenges such as poverty, insecurity, and environmental destruction. In addition, the global trade system will enable sustainable and inclusive economic growth that allows us the means to deliver solutions at the scale they are so urgently required. For our part as Africans, even as we seek a deeper, more beneficial role in the global economy, boosting regional integration is also a key priority. We know that increasing trade between ourselves will boost our economic growth and create jobs for our youth. The building blocks for this integration are the regional economic groupings such as the East African Community. These blocks will eventually give way to larger groupings such as the African Continental Free Trade Area. This process that we are embarked on is complementary to our engagement with the World Trade Organization, which indeed supports domestic economic and trade reforms, development of multilateral trade rules, greater market access and investment, regulatory cooperation, as well as good governance. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the slow progress in concluding the Doha round has given impetus to a multiplicity of mega free trade agreements. This does not augur well for an open and transparent, all-inclusive and rule-based multilateral trading system. The WTO Ministerial Conference in Bali in December of 2013 was the first under the Doha round that succeeded in concluding negotiations in a limited number of areas, including the Trade Facilitation Agreement. The agreement is a positive contribution that removes unnecessary barriers and harmonizes related standards. We need to build on it and agree on tangible outcomes here in Nairobi in order to give credibility to the WTO as a rule-based organization. You will all find Africa ready to do all we can to ensure the success of this 10th Ministerial Conference. Our countries firmly believe in the multilateral trading system's ability to deliver meaningful outcomes for our growth, our development, and indeed our poverty reduction strategies. We therefore must deliver for all, and especially for Africa and the least developed countries. And this will require all of us to give and take. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the agriculture negotiations in the Doha round are the ones from which developing countries can derive most gains. Agriculture is particularly important for Africa, considering that the majority of our population depend on it for food livelihood and employment. However, distortions in this sector have continued to deprive it from realizing its full potential. Africa's farmers simply cannot compete against heavily subsidized farmers in developed countries. In this connection, the Doha round of negotiations in agriculture provides us with the best opportunity to address the distortions and to align global trade with our development goals. I urge and indeed urge all of you to accelerate towards a positive end to our long journey of establishing a fair, market-oriented trade in agriculture. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me finally take this opportunity to thank all the negotiators in Geneva who have worked truly hard to get us to this stage. I have been following, and indeed, while divergent positions still persist on several fronts, great effort has without a doubt been made to reach agreement. I once again urge all of you to exercise flexibility in the spirit of compromise and in the spirit of delivering for all. I am confident that you have the capacity to rise to the occasion and indeed to demonstrate that this organization can deliver successful outcomes for the global economy and sustainable development. We owe this much to the world, and more so, we owe this much to our young people. I thank you all and wish you very successful deliberations. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, the drum had a meaning, and every time the drum sounded, there was a reason. The drum would sound to call out the women to come to celebrate the birth of a baby. The drum would sound to call out the old man to come and sit around a table under a tree and discuss things that pertained to the village. The drum would be called to call out young people to come and defend their village. Today, the drum calls you to this. Your Excellency, please lead us in sounding of the drum and marking the official opening of this conference. Thank you very much, sir.
We will most humbly request the delegates to remain standing as the Excellencies leave at their pleasure. And after this, we sit so that the next session continues. Thank you, Your Excellencies. request the delegates to remain standing as the excellencies leave.
Well, that is the